perhaps, and I really, really hope that Dan Trachtenberg actually does something good with Predator Badlands and goes all out on this concept. But whether or not it's going to be good remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. Remains to be seen. Hey, what's up you wonderful people? Wondrous Lantern here, back with another video. Today's video, if the title didn't give it away, I just got out of the movie theaters at the time of this recording, and I have a fresh take on the Predator Badlands movie, or something I'm gonna call Predator Bad. Spoilers, it's bad. It is a terrible experience. It's, I guess, fun, but I'm gonna be honest, there were so many times in the film I was rolling my eyes, so many times I was just so confused and baffled as to how Dan Trachtenberg thinks of the Yautja and their lore in general. It was a baffling experience, to say the least. So like I said, I just finished watching it. I don't have a script in front of me. I just have notes that I was taking during the film. So I'm kind of going off script here. So let's just dive into it. Oh, and by the way, spoiler alert. So if you want to go waste money on this travesty, spoilers for you. If you don't really give a crap, then I'm just going to keep going. You have been warned. So the movie does open with some, bland, generic text about Yautja, and they're essentially something about how Yautja are prey to no one and predators to all, or something like that. Just some mumbo jumbo that, the movie tries to make you feel like it's cool, but it's not. But I'll believe it or not, this wasn't the thing that took me out of the movie. I was still invested, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just some silly little concept. Then I'm telling you, this is when the movie really started to derail for me. That was not really the first scene, but the first few scenes was in the trailer. There's an obvious person wearing like some robes and a mask, and I never really was going to contemplate on it too much or harp on it too much as far as the trailer goes. I actually withheld my reaction from the trailer for a specific reason, because I didn't know much about what it was in the film. I didn't know who it was going to be. At first I assumed that the person with the cloak and the terrible mask was going to be the Wayland Yutani android. So by the way, her name's Thea, or whatever, if you really care about that sort of detail. So I thought it was going to be the Wayland android, but boy was I disappointed when it actually turns out to be Deck, the predator of the movie. So Deck is the character with the terrible mask, and I'm just going to get this out of the way. I don't understand Dan Trachtenberg's aversion to the classic Predator mask. I genuinely do not understand this. I don't know why he keeps on using weird masks for his predators, and I don't want to hear people trying to defend this with, oh, different tribe, different this, different that. No, I'm sorry. There have been tribes in the past that have been shown to almost have similar aesthetic from the classic look we know. Yes, they had different personalities within that mask structure, but it was still a predator mask. These masks are terrible. I don't know why he has this really weird obsession with not using the classic predator mask. I don't understand it. It was kind of distracting for me. So anyway, I kept watching, and the other aspect of this film from the trailers, that if you were trying to get into this movie thinking, oh, maybe the tendrils, or the tentacles, whatever you want to call them, that come out of the predator's head, the Yautja heads, oh, we always made fun of it, thinking it was like a Starbucks employee, or this guy has, he actually, they give him hair to try and make it, like, humanize it. Spoiler alert, yes, they try to humanize him to an excruciatingly painful degree in this film. It's exactly what's wrong with modern films nowadays. So it's hair, because it's not, by the way, it's not just Deck. The entire film, every predator you see, okay, so you see two other predators in the film that remove their masks, which, by the way, again, not the classic predator masks, these horrible, terrible masks that make him look like they just jumped out of being a hunter from Destiny 2. It's just wild to me. Anyway, you see Deck's face and what's his name? I have it down here. Quay is Deck's older brother or something like this. And essentially, Quay has a similar hairstyle, like or tendril style, whatever you want to call it. Sure, it's not as thick on the front, but it is spiny. It is still down on the crest, on the head ridge crest that you see from the other predators that is bald. JP had it in 1987. I'm pretty sure the City Killer from the Predator 2 had it. Almost every Predator has had this crest. I don't understand why Dan Trachtenberg decided to do this. It makes no sense to me. Whoever designed them, it wasn't, like I said, it's not just Deck. Deck is not the only one with this style. So if you're going to this movie thinking that, oh, they're still going to try and get the Yautja right and the lore right and their aesthetic right, you're going to be sorely mistaken, because there are so many things in this film that essentially spit in the face of actual Yautja fans and the lore. So the whole point of the movie is Quay saves Deck because Deck is apparently a runt, and their father essentially comes up and saying, oh, we have to cull the weak. He sees that Deck is weak, and so he kind of commands Quay to kill his brother and then restrains him with some cage, which I think is kind of weird. I don't know if there's some deep-seated lore thing with cages and killing, like the Yautja killing of their own within cages. I don't know, to me that just kind of is exactly backwards from the whole honorable way of killing, because the whole point is kind of like, death by combat, or hey, if he really is that weak, why do you need a cage? You know what I mean? I don't understand. So anyway, there's a cage put on Deck, and then Quay comes up, and then he saves his brother, and then he faces their father, and Deck is stuck inside of a ship. I know this sounds weird. It's because Quay essentially saves Deck by using a device to pull him into a ship, and then he locks it with his arm guard because the ship is his. Oh, yeah. So essentially he locks Deck within his own ship, so Deck can't really get out. And then he dies by their father, and then sends Deck essentially to a planet that Deck wanted to go and get a trophy from a thing called a Kalisk, which is essentially this giant alien. But the thing from the trailer, the huge thing that comes up and then he roars at it, the infamous trailer. Yeah, it's that thing. So that's what Deck's mission is. Kind of can buy it so far, kind of can follow. I actually like the fact that there's a setup of, oh, hey, Deck is going to the Death Planet, or whatever they call it, to fight a giant alien to reclaim his honor, essentially, and to get a trophy. Now, the thing about this Kalisk is, apparently even the father is afraid of it, because no other Yautja in history has ever fought one and survived and taken a trophy. And you find out later why, but essentially, Deck is now bound to try and avenge his brother and avenge his own honor. So Deck is, flown to the Death Planet. And by the way, there's an aspect of it that I don't really like about the first scene with the ship, because there's no inertia in it. I mean, you know how in space usually they have inertia dampeners or simulated gravity, where the people who do not get flown around because they're going at hyper speeds, crazy speeds that would actually render you probably paralyzed if you did not have some type of inertia dampener or simulated gravity. Yeah, they don't have that here, even though the ship is literally designed to jump at hyper speeds. So apparently Deck is thrown unconscious because the ship is stupidly designed, does not have type of simulated gravity on it. So he kind of comes to and wakes up as he's entering the atmosphere, if I remember correctly. That was just another thing that kind of, I don't know, stuck in my head about the opening parts of the film. And by the way, the Death Planet is called Genna, or Jenna, whatever you want to call it. It was Genna. So Deck is on Genna now, and he does this thing where he lays out his stuff. The trailer shot where he's laying out his inventory, his gear. Yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because it's a stupid way to have his shit stolen. Essentially what happens is some tree monster stuff, or tentacle monster. I don't even know how to describe them. They're these weird wooden viney looking tendril things that go out to grab at him and such. Now at this part I kind of didn't really like how Deck is so stupid as a Yautja that he instead of looking up and around him, he looks at it from like how a human would, because he looks back to try and see what took his gear, and he just keeps looking in a really weird parallel line. Whereas if he's an experienced hunter, or if he's a Yautja who knows about this stuff, he should be looking all around him. He should be looking up in the trees. Maybe there's another thing in a creature in the trees taking it. And no, this is not just because of some meta knowledge, because I'm a viewer of the 1987 film or the other films where predators can take the height advantage. Because later on in the same movie, Deck is using the trees like he's some type of acrobatic athlete, some crazy acrobat. So he obviously understands the concept of utilizing trees or utilizing high branches and swinging and going high up. So I don't want to hear that excuse of, oh, he's just a new hunter, he doesn't know about creatures or things or how to utilize trees. That's stupid. So essentially he looks back, and then of course there's this whole thing about these tree tentacle things try to grab him and take him, and he cuts them. And by the way, remember when I said that he's athletic and acrobatic in the trees later on to this film? Yeah, for some reason he doesn't do that here. He decides to just stand around and be as slow as shit. So he's essentially asking to be grabbed or be attacked easily. And no, it's not because he's trying to have a good fight, and no, it's not because of an honorable fight or anything like this. He's just really stupid in this scene. Anyway, by the way, this entire time, and I noticed this too, there's way too much music going on. Remember in that 87 film where even the music was still kind of tension driven, or it assisted the scenes, right? This movie doesn't have that. This movie has the very over the top, loud, Marvel-esque soundtrack we've come to know in like every single action film or even film of this kind of caliber. It's generic, it's very loud, and like I said, it kind of doesn't fit the aesthetic of survival. It's just loud bass sounds, loud percussion, loud horns. It's just a mess. And there's also an instrument used in the movie's soundtrack, and this is not a con against the movie, it's just something that I noticed, and it was kind of something that I just kept remembering. There's a specific instrument that kind of sounds like the Anthem menu theme. For anyone who has played the Anthem video game knows exactly what I'm talking about. The one that goes like, it's like a vocalization instrument. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but essentially it's like, oh, and it's like synthetic and it has this weird resonance. Anyway, the music was distracting and it didn't really fit the scenes in my opinion. Then we get a whole title card thing, and it was very cringy because it wasn't just Predator Badlands like the title card. You would think that it would just say Predator Badlands, but it has Predator Badlands and this really weird, I'm not joking when I say this, a line of like copyright and trademark, like a full-on line. I'm not talking about like some hidden text. It was so big, it literally was like a subtitle for the Predator Badlands title card. I actually was kind of thinking to myself, like, why would you ever decide to put the trademark stuff here in like this part of the film? It makes no sense. So anyway, I don't know, it might be just a gripe on my end, and it probably is, but I'm gonna be honest, I found it kind of cringy that they decided to do a full-on subtitle trademark text line for their Predator Badlands title card. Then we get Deck going around, and he's like, you remember the shot in the trailer where there's those spine like plants that blow up? Well, he's in that field and he starts hearing a voice, and it turns out, lo and behold, it's Thea, the Weyland-Yutani android. So she's trying to talk to him, tell him about the field and what's going to happen, and Deck, being Deck, is trying to, like, he's almost like reluctantly taking her advice, but not really. I don't know how to describe it other than he hears her, but he's kind of like being the stubborn Yautja, which I understand. He's trying to do by himself. But then this really weird thing happens where a bird creature like throws a rock down to get the plants to hit Deck, and apparently these plants do some type of paralysis or nerve thing to them. I'm sorry, at this part of the movie I couldn't really like see too much to write the note down, but essentially they paralyze, or they do something so it allows the bird creature essentially to eat its prey. And Thea explains this in full detail to Deck. Nothing wrong with the full detail, but I'm gonna be honest with you, she would not shut up the entire film, or at least the entire first half of the movie, which was extremely extremely painful to get through. Thea's lines are cringy. Her personality is cringy. She's one of those very forced humor, quote unquote comic relief characters, which I don't understand why they keep doing this in these films, because even Weyland-Yutani androids before, even though they were shown to have some type of personalities or personalization, there was none of them that had to deal with, I don't know, it's just, they weren't like motor mouths. They didn't have any semblance of genuine depth to their emotions. And by that, I mean, it was like either simulated emotions or it was, more like an honorary like code thing coded into their being, like Bishop in Aliens. I actually liked Bishop, but he also did come across like an android to me. Thea does not come across like an android, other than the obvious fact that she's ripped in half for half of the movie, or most of the movie, I should say. They say she's an android, but she practically is a human. But in all aspects, she has sensitivities, she has emotions, and it's kind of like one of those things where then she like bonds with Deck. I don't know, it's very weird, and I found that part to be kind of off-putting. And anyone who is an Alien fan, I'm sorry, you're probably more of an Alien fan than I am, then I would not say that you're wrong, because I'm more of a Predator fan. But I do feel like it was kind of weird how they took like the stance with the Weyland-Yutani androids. I don't know, just to me, in my opinion, don't really feel like any of the androids would ever have those emotions. And I know some people in the comments are going to try and defend this and say, well, if you remember, she's the only one of her type to have sensitivities, or she and her sister Tessa, spoiler alert, Tessa is the bad guy of the film, so she and Tessa are supposed to be like these sensitive androids. So it gets to the point where it's like, yeah, sure, but I still don't understand why it turns out to be Tessa who uses her sensitivities to be evil and Tia does not. It's not really explained well. And no, I don't want to hear, well, if you paid attention, it's this, that. No, you're just injecting any of your outside lore knowledge or something that was not shown in the film. There's nothing shown in the film that talks about why Thea would not have the same sensitivities or the same semblance of loyalty to Weyland-Yutani as Tessa does. In fact, I'd argue that Tessa should have more of an anger towards Weyland-Yutani, because she was the one who got decommissioned. She was the one who got pretty much shut down and had to get revived by the Weyland-Yutani headquarters. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm getting ahead of myself. So essentially, Thea is hanging out. Like I said, she talks too much, and she's, she and Deck strike this bargain where Deck tries to take her because she can lead him to the Callisk den where her legs are. So it's like a mutually beneficial kind of verbal contract kind of thing. Deck is trying to do the Yautja thing, which I actually liked that he kept doing, like, no, I hunt alone, I hunt solo. And she kind of, I can't remember the exact like phrasing or words exchanged, but essentially she goes, something like, oh, I'm an android and you can just view me as a tool. So yeah, enough of that. Oh, I guess, Deck is cool with just using androids because, they're a tool and whatnot. So I don't know, if anyone wants to defend this, I guess, I don't really care too much about this. There's a lot of forced humor in this film. And by a lot, I mean it is practically ham-fisted in almost every scene after Thea and Deck meet each other. To me, I found it pretty cringy. I found it pretty off-putting. I didn't really like it. It wasn't funny for me. And it's not because I'm a party pooper or anything like this. It's just, it's one of those, you've seen the movies. It's one of those movie concepts where it is forced humor. And because it's forced, it's almost like it's insulting your intelligence, because it's like, hey, you can't get this joke, so we're just going to keep explaining it to you. Or, hey, you didn't get this joke because you're grumpy, you're a grumpy person, and you're supposed to laugh at these jokes. It's very childish, it's very off-putting. I didn't like it. There's just also aspects to Tessa when she gets woken up where or I can't remember, I think it was Tessa or Thea or whatever, but so Thea is captured. She's like up in the branches, another one of the trailer shots, and she's trying to talk to Deck about, to cut me down and whatever, but she like out of nowhere knows that he's hunting the Callisk. Like, how? I like seriously, the moment she says you're hunting the Callisk, There was no words exchanged that would give that away. There was no dialogue, no type of situation. It was just, oh, you're hunting the callus. And I don't want to hear that whole, well, what else would he be hunting on this giant death planet filled with creatures that almost kill him and her several times throughout the film. So I don't want to hear anyone saying, well, obviously he's hunting the callus. It's not obvious. There are so many creatures on that planet that he could have easily had been hunting as a Yautja. And by the way, the movie itself kind of proves my point on this, because at the end he throws Tessa's skull at his father, claiming, oh, this is my trophy. So he could have been on that planet to hunt any creature for their skull and bring it back to Yautja Prime. So I don't want to hear any defense on this part, because how would Thea know, or Thea, whatever she's called, how would she know what Dek's plan or mission is? She wouldn't. There's just nothing established at that point. So then we get like this really weird sequence of events where, or of shots where Tessa's getting revived and like fixed and whatever back at the headquarters. And somehow they know that she's with a Yautja. They know that Thea is with a Yautja. I genuinely have no idea, again, how they know this. You find this a lot in this film. It's literally filled with a bunch of scenes or characters who just know things that they shouldn't really know. It's not explained. There's no like dialogue or shots given as to why they know certain things. They just do. And that's something that the movie really wants you to just believe without question. Just believe it. That's how it works. And you're dumb if you try to question this. I'm sorry. I can't turn my brain off when I try to enjoy films. I know that I'm coming off very grumpy right now, or I'm coming off very hateful or negative. And trust me when I say I didn't really have a bad time watching the film. I laughed at it a lot. I thought it was a pretty good comedy in the wrong reasons. Its humor was not good. It was forced humor, as I was saying. But the fact that people want to take it seriously and thinking that Trachtenberg is some like godsend to the Predator franchise, sorry guys, you're blind. That's not at all what he's done. I'm sorry in my opinion, he is 2 for 3. I have not fully watched Predator Killer of Killers to give a full-on opinion on this, but from what I've heard, he's 3 for 3 in the negatives for his misunderstanding and misrepresentation of the Yautja. So I'm just gonna leave it for that right there. Let's see, other thing on my notes. I have another page of notes on my thing. After Dek saves Thea and he like makes this like really weird, oh no, before he makes this rig of a backpack for her, she's like wrapped around his arm, like her arms around his neck, and he's like running through, and these creatures are like spitting acid, I think, at them, and she like has bait in her palm out of nowhere, and it's not like dry bait, it's slimy bait, and this comes out of nowhere, and she's like, oh, they're just hungry, and then she just throws the food at them and they just start eating it. And I was thinking to myself, there was no shot that established that she picks it up. She doesn't explain this to him earlier. I don't know why you would not explain this to him earlier, like, hey, by the way, we're going to be coming up to a place where creatures, they eat this, you might want to use this. No, she just has her arms wrapped around his neck, and then just there's a shot of her, opening her palm up, and then she throws them. But it is a nitpick, I guess. It's just one of those things that, I don't know, things like that kind of take me out of the film. And there's so many things like I said, there's so many aspects of this film where characters just know things. It's so weird, because usually when you watch a film that actually is well written or constructed carefully and meticulously, you have actual scenes or dialogues or both that establish why a character knows certain things that they otherwise may not have known. So I don't understand why. For instance, there's a part where they're fighting the Callus, the big one, and he uses a human, by the way, because it's Wayland Yutani tech. He uses a human chain, a hook with a chain that comes off of a truck or one of those like military vehicles, right? So he throws it like a fishing hook. That I don't really have an issue with. I'm like, okay, fine. He can kind of just assess that, oh, that's a hook with a chain, throw that, fine, okay. What I do have an issue with is literally there's another shot where after he like hooks the Callus, he knows exactly what lever or what mechanism to use to pull the chain. I don't know how he would know this, because it's kind of established in the film. Either he doesn't know about human lore or he does. It's very bizarre, because he has to be told what wolves are, the creatures on planet Earth, because Tia talks to him about what wolves do. And so he obviously doesn't know what wolves are, but he somehow knows what Earth is or Earth tech is or how to use it. I don't know. To me, I just found it kind of weird. And like I said, that's more of a nitpick, I guess, because it's not really, maybe it's not a nitpick nitpick because there is an important part of the plot to be furthered, because if he didn't know how to use the chain, like to the mechanism for the chain, he would not have been able to fight the Callisk the way he fights the Callisk. So anyway, I digress. So there's this monkey, space monkey thing. You find out later it is a baby Callisk, but essentially it looks like a big space monkey that's kind of like competing with Deck to fight this one thing. By the way, Deck does this weird thing where he chokes him and this monkey fight each other, and you know, monkey looks like it's about to win, but then Deck picks it up by the throat. No, very threatening, by the way. And in the next few shots, something starts like running towards them, and they do that thing where in movies, Doctor Strange did it, and I can't remember, there was another movie recently that did this, but essentially where like something big and fast is coming towards a character, and they like throw something or do something to cut it in half, and the two parts equally separate and just avoid the character. So the reason why it was laughable for being here is because the creature wasn't that far away. It was like right in front of him, and I was thinking to myself, that's not how physics works. You can't just have an object or an item or a character or creature or whatever running at that speed, going at that speed, and having a character cut it in half thinking that, oh, the two parts in that distance, they're gonna split off perfectly to avoid the character who threw the thing. That's just not how it works. And no, it wasn't some Predator tech that like split it apart or anything. He just throws his red wannabe lightsaber just sword thing. It's just weird, man. And then there's a scene where like I said, remember, Deck just threatened Space Monkey, like very threateningly, almost about to choke it out, and just drops it, whatever. And they're fighting for their lives against this like one creature that has like 3 limbs. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a pretty big creature that's about to eat them. And out of nowhere, for like, oh, seriously, I thought maybe I missed something. Out of nowhere, Space Monkey jumps into the mouth to save Deck and Thea, but why? I genuinely don't understand. So if someone knows why the monkey did this, I would love to know, because there's nothing established, like I said in the film, to why it all of a sudden is loyal to this creature, by the way, Deck, for being so threatening to it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's cool. Oh, the monkey has meta knowledge, that's why. Okay, so there's this really weird forced thing where the monkey is now part of their crew. It's so forced, and I genuinely don't understand why like the movie had to have this angle. And before people say, well, that's part of the story, well, you realize they did not have to write it this way. They literally could have wrote this movie the way that it seemed like they were going to go for, where it was like maybe just a Weyland-Yutani android and Deck coming to terms with each other to fight an alien creature, and having Deck bring home a trophy, essentially. They could have written it that way, and they didn't. They wrote it in this really weird way where the monkey has some importance to the story because now the Callisk has some important personal impact to the story. It's just so bizarre. After Monkey is with them, there's like a scene where the monkey just keeps on mimicking Deck, and it goes on for way too long. Like, remember when I said when jokes, especially modern humor, they do this thing where the joke gets, told, and it's like, okay, it was funny at first, but it keeps going and going and going. Yeah, it was like Ghostbusters 2016 all over again, where it's there. It's like, we get it, that we get the joke. You don't have to keep doing this. And I'm telling you, it goes for way too long. And there's just an aspect of it I just did not like. I just don't understand the whole aspect of trying to have Space Monkey. They're trying to sell the toys, essentially, and be cutesy with it. It's annoying how far this franchise has gone, where people think that this is good because, oh, there's humor in it. Oh, and it's slapsticky. Oh, and it's just goofy. It's like, I'm sorry, but I thought this was going to be a movie about a predator and an android trying to come to terms and survive on a world together, not have some stupid buddy cop humor thrown out through the entire film. And like I said, it's the entire film. It's not like 1 or 2 scenes. No, it is genuinely forced humor the entire way through. So if you really like that, yeah, go spend your money on that. Then we have a scene where Tessa and like her crew of androids come to Genna, and then they're like in the, in the middle of between all these trees. And one of those tentacle monsters, instead of attacking any of the other androids in the vicinity, way behind Tessa, it goes for Tessa to have this stupid like, oh, Tessa's a badass shot, where she like holds it without looking and then she like snaps it in half or whatever, and then the androids start fighting the tentacle tree things. It's so weird. I was thinking to myself, you know, they only did the tentacle thing to try to establish how cool Tessa's supposed to be, but I don't know, to me it felt forced and just really off-putting. But yeah, I'm gonna end this video right here. There will be I will definitely get a review out when the actual movie releases so I can actually get footage of it. It's just it was so baffling to me how many positive reviews I see of this movie. And look, here's the thing, I'm not saying you have to hate the movie or dislike it on the way that I did. You know, if you like the film, cool, but I don't want to hear people telling me that it is somehow well written, well constructed. I don't want to hear people talking about how it really wasn't disrespectful to the Yautja lore. And here's an actual aspect of it that I think it should irk even Alien fans. It kind of spits in the face of Weyland-Yutani lore. Maybe not as much, but there's definitely aspects of it where Weyland-Yutani does some stupid decisions. But then again, I guess anyone who has watched any of the recent Alien franchise garbage would probably attest, oh, well, I guess now it's canon that Weyland-Yutani is just stupid. They just don't know how to do things. So I guess that's on par with what you're supposed to expect from them. But I don't know. To me, that I find that insulting as a fan or anything like this. Like I said, there's so many things in this movie where characters just know things just to know it. It's all meta knowledge. It's like they think because you know as a fan and that it's too much to show scenes that, oh, the fans should already know this, so that's why we're not going to show the characters explain why they know it. It's like, well, the context matters, right? It's not that every single character in these universes know everything, right? It's not that all these characters are going to be exactly the same or know what the audience knows, because in their world, there's no audience watching them, right? There's no audience watching Deck. There was no audience watching JP. There was no audience watching Ripley. There was no audience watching Ripley in all the other sequels or Bishop or anything like this. There's no audience. So you have to have them believable in the sense that, you know, there's no one watching them. So there still has to be some type of exposition or explanation as to why characters come to conclusions or do have actions that otherwise you would be guessing why. Why did the characters do this? Why did they not do this? So yeah, just a baffling experience. But anyway, I kind of disagree if anyone has a take that Trachtenberg is like a godsend for the Predator franchise. I actually think he's actually hurting it more than a lot of other people. Definitely not like Shane Black did with his dumpster fire, but I'm gonna be honest, Badlands was just bad in my opinion. There are so many weird contrivances, so many weird flaws, and by the way, I did not touch up on everything, even though how long this video has gone and I've gone through certain things in detail, or at least in my opinion, as detailed as I could. There are things that I did not touch up on in this video, and I probably will when the movie officially releases. Anyway, I hope you guys save money. Don't go watch it. I don't recommend it. Even if you're not even a fan of the franchise, I just don't understand why, you know, if you're a fan of movies, don't watch it. It's not a well-written movie. It's modern day slop, and no, I'm not taking the stance of because of an agenda or because of pushed narratives or anything. It's just honestly a terribly written movie. It's a terribly written character film. Oh, and by the way, like I said, they keep trying to humanize Deck the entire time, and they kind of do, and that was kind of more annoying to me, because it's like, why did we go from him being a Yautja to he's now a Yautja? What, he just has human feelings. He's a human. He just looks like a Yautja pretty much at the end of the movie, and I just don't like that. As a Predator fan or a fan of the Yautja lore, there's usually a semblance or an honorable reason or respectable reason why they had shown honor or respect to a human or anyone who they usually would feel is lesser or weaker. It's usually because, oh, that person has proven themselves. So I'm just going to leave the video here. Please like, subscribe if you guys enjoyed. If you want to leave a comment, please leave a comment. I would love to hear your guys' feedback. But like I said, don't recommend it, not just as a Predator fan or an Alien fan. If you're a fan of film in general and of your own money, don't waste it on this film. I hope you guys have a great night, and as always, stay wonderful.